I am not a scientist. I am from the financial services industry for 25 years, where I was a C-level risk executive at places like Citigroup. And so you might wonder, why is a banking guy hanging out with pharma people? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in terms of the research that I did on behalf of FDA's Office of Pharmaceutical Quality via our University of Maryland MCERC. And so this research is based on the agenda that I've seen for everything here today, very different focus than the other topics. So my work was focused, and I'll let me share my screen here, and then that way we can kind of get into some of the details here. I'm going to put this on slideshow for now, and see if I can get this set up. There we go. And so the work was focused on developing analytical tools to help the pharma industry, particularly executives, make better investment decisions on pharma manufacturing technology, and to also help them make decisions about enabling the reshoring of pharma products back to the United States. So many of you know this already. We've witnessed significant shortages of pharmaceutical products over the years, as well as disruptions of the global supply chain, particularly pronounced during COVID. And further strains on manufacturing are occurring at present, relating to various geopolitical challenges that present national security risks also to the United States. And it's also very well known that the U.S. is vulnerable to such disruptions, particularly for generics and APIs. So the question is, can advanced manufacturing technologies such as continuous manufacturing, or CM for short, which have been used for decades in other industries such as petrochemicals, be leveraged more for pharma production? And so my empirical work that was done again at the behest of FDA's Office of Pharmaceutical Quality under MCERC suggests that it can be a game changer, especially as billions of investment dollars are already flowing in or starting to flow in from major pharma companies to the United States. So the old tried and true batch technology that much of the pharma industry has been relying on for years is highly manual in terms of the process, can result in more product defects and scrap, downtime, regulatory scrutiny, and environmental liability than CM, continuous manufacturing. CM is also more efficient. It requires less of a footprint, which can lead to improved quality, reduced cost of goods, faster, more flexible supply, and resilience and sustainability. So all good things. So you have to ask yourself, why don't we see more adoption of CM if this has happened with and has all these touted benefits? Well, there was certainly a pilot that was done by FDA some time ago with a handful of pharma companies to kind of illustrate the viability, if you will, of continuous manufacturing. But again, those first movers, it takes time for the industry overall to sort of build up momentum to kind of change that technology over. So it turns out that there's actually a lot of upfront capital required to either retrofit or build a new plant, as well as the high initial labor costs, and that goes into the training, which is very different under continuous manufacturing than batch. And this can result in several years of negative cash flows for a time. And what this all comes down to is money, right? It's a for-profit enterprise that we're talking about, after all, with these companies. So with batch technology, there's greater understanding of these capital costs and operating expenses, where there's more uncertainty around those with respect to CM, given the fact that we have limited experience in the industry with that technology. So what I did was borrow from an approach that we use quite extensively in financial services. Again, where I worked for 25 years as the head of all these different risk management functions at banks like Citigroup, for example, in making decisions under uncertainty, namely Monte Carlo simulation of batch versus CM cash flows or net present values to generate what you see on the right-hand side of this chart, which is a distribution where pharma decision makers can look at a range of outcomes, so not looking at just a singular outcome, including a worst case, what we call tail NPV or net present value outcomes, to be able to say, if I'm an executive, I'm going to be 95 to 99% confident that investing in CM will be NPV positive over batch technology. And that's going to give the decision maker much more confidence to go forward with a CM type of technology over batch. So my analysis, and there's some references in the back of this last slide that showed that CM would generate higher NPVs for CM over batch more than 95% of the time for generic and brand OSD products in the United States compared to other major pharma producing countries. And for that, I compared to China, Ireland, India, for example. So let me stop there, since those are the Cliff Notes versions. And if anybody has any questions, be happy to take them, or certainly send me a note. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Cliff. It's great. We have time for one question if anybody has a question. Otherwise, I can ask a question, and that is, I know you're not in the security business, but is this a national security issue to be able to create medicines in the U.S.? If you can't create medicines in the U.S., is this something that's received any kind of priority from the government as a security concern?
Yeah, I mean, even in the previous administration, it was known that this creates a national security risk, particularly not just for the drug products themselves, but also for the APIs, which tend to be even more challenging in some cases. And so you can imagine if there is some sort of conflagration that happens abroad that disrupts a supply chain, and our consumers can't get access to either the finished product or the APIs, that puts us in a very precarious position. So having a little bit more control over that process is something that I know, and I'm working with folks from USP, for example, on mapping drug supply chains. And I think this is the direction that needs to go when we're talking about things that are so important to everyday consumers, you and I, right, and everybody in the audience.